Welcome to Here Come the Irish. I'm Michael Owens. I think we're about 106 days away from Notre Dame at Louisville. Not that I'm counting or anything. Have a great interview lined up for you today. Former Notre Dame football player Irv Smith and NFL player. Got a lot of great questions lined up for him. Haven't had a lot of players from that Lou Holtz era on the show, so got a lot of great questions for him. And let's get started. How are you doing today, Irv?
I'm doing well. Thanks for giving me a call today.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show and taking time out of your Sunday to come on.
Hello?
Yeah, are you still there?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. All right. I know I kind of sent you over the questions, but the first question I got for you, we kind of start our show off with every time. Why did you choose Notre Dame?
Well, it's a funny story. I'm not sure how much time you have, but I'll give you a quick short of the story. To be honest with you, Notre Dame was actually not in the pictures for me, and not because Notre Dame wasn't a great school. It was because a guy named Derek Brown was there, who was a freshman All-American. And when I was coming out of high school, D. Brown was the man. I watched him on television, and I was like, one thing I did not want to do was sit behind this guy for 3 years. So I was looking at every school besides Notre Dame. And at the end of the day, I was planning on going to the University of Auburn. And at the time, Pat Dye Sr. was the head coach, and I was a baseball player and a football player. And I wanted to be like Bo Jackson. So
absolutely.
At the end of the day, I was trying to go to Auburn, play baseball and football like Bo, and hopefully, finish up from there. But what happened was, got recruiting visits for USC, UCLA, Florida State, Clemson, and my last trip was going to be Auburn. I was going to go to Auburn, commit, and the rest would be history. The Monday before my Friday trip to Auburn, which would have been my fifth and final trip, Auburn called me and told me that they didn't have a scholarship for me longer. They just signed 2 tight ends that weekend from the state of Alabama, and they weren't offering me a scholarship at that point. So I actually verbally committed the next day to Clemson, and Vinny Serrato was the recruiting coordinator at Notre Dame, and he just stayed on me, and he was like, Irv, just come to Notre Dame just for the visit. You have 5 visits, you have 1 visit left. We know you're going to Clemson. Just come for the visit. And Vinny knew what he was doing, because he knew once I got on campus, the rest would be history. So I decided to go for the free trip. I went to Notre Dame for a free recruiting trip. I figured it'd be a getaway, a couple of days to hang out, and then I would, go on my business, go to Clemson. After making that visit to Notre Dame, my host was Derek Brown, of course, and my second host was Rodney Culver, and then I spent time with Coach Holtz. And at the end of the day, I did realize I would still beat D. Brown's back. And when I met with Coach Holtz on that visit, he told me, once again, Irv Smith, if you come to Notre Dame, you'll be Derek Brown's backup for 3 years, and then your senior year, you'll have a chance to play and start. And you know what? Notre Dame was such a special place that when I walked off that campus, I said, you know what? It's still going to be worth it to go here and be a bench warmer for 3 years. I still want to be a Notre Dame Fighting Irish guy, and that's what I chose to do. And called Clemson, decommitted, committed to Notre Dame, and the rest is history.
Yeah, man, that's an awesome story how that ended up working out. So I know you said Bo Jackson. What timeline was he at when you were thinking about Auburn? Was that a couple years before you were going to go there, or when was that? I don't recall.
Yeah, I believe Bo came out probably in maybe 85, and this was 89, and it was 88, of course, and I came out in 89. Of course, Bo was, at that point, he was hitting home runs in Major League Baseball and scoring touchdowns for the Raiders. So this one, he was still in the midst of his prime of his career. So all I knew was I wanted to be like Bo Jackson. I wanted to go to Auburn and duplicate what he did. But once again, when I was Notre Dame, all that went out the window, and the rest is history.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about how your baseball career panned out at Notre Dame, and like what positions you played?
Yes, I was an outfielder, and baseball was great. I had a lot of fun. I think it helped me quite tremendously in terms of my speed and agility, because when I was playing baseball at Notre Dame, because I played football as well, I played for my first 2 years, but because I didn't play fall baseball like the rest of the guys, once I got in the baseball season in January, February, after the bowl game was over for football, it took me at least a month or so to get my swing going, because all the other guys had played fall baseball and they were just in the rhythm of swinging that bat, and I was just getting used to swinging the bat again. So I wasn't up to speed. So I was primarily used as a pinch runner. I would come in and steal bases and things like that in the early part of my seasons that I played there. So it helped me to continue to work on my speed, which of course is good for football. The rest of the stuff for baseball doesn't help you in football at all, but the speed that I had to have to steal those bases and agilities and things really helped set me apart from the rest of the guys.
Yeah, completely understand. I played college baseball for a few years myself, and if you miss an extended time at all, it's kind of hard to get caught up on the fastballs and curveballs and everything. It's hard to hit a baseball. That's one of the hardest things to do in sports. But that was going to be one of my follow-up questions too, seeing if you were a big base stealer there in college.
Yeah, I tell people all the time the reason my baseball career ended was I couldn't hit the curveball, because I could load up on swinging that bat and catch, staying up on that fastball, and I'd knock those out the park all day. And then once the pitchers and the coaches realized that I was sitting on a fastball, they started throwing nothing but balls, and it was a whole different ball game, and that would set me apart and ended my baseball career and made me have to make a decision that I had to play football.
Yeah, completely get it. Kind of moving on, I know that I saw one of your videos. So I was born in '95, but I was kind of looking back, and a lot of the stuff I've seen on you is just kind of old footage and YouTube videos. I saw that you were had a special on the Notre Dame page. You're talking about how Coach Holtz told you that you maybe should stick with baseball. And from what I kind of understood how you were saying is he kind of just said that to kind of put a chip on your shoulder almost.
Well, the one thing I tell people all the time about Coach Holtz is he has a great way of knowing how to motivate people. Everyone has a different button, and I think his knack was finding out what your button was and figuring out how to get the best out of you as a player. And so when I look back on it, I realized that, Coach Holtz definitely did not want me to not be on the football team, and certainly had plans for me to be a starter in my, later in my career. So when he told me that, he was just basically challenging me, and he wanted to see if I would step up. And the thing was, I was fortunate I had a lot of good people around me. I had great coaches. Coach Moore, the offensive line coach, was a great friend of mine, and he really stood by my side. And a bunch of my teammates did the same thing. Derek Brown and Oscar McBride, and the list goes on. Those guys actually lifted me up and said, Irv, you know what? Don't let Coach Holtz take this dream away from you. You can do it. And so, once I realized that, of course, at the end of the day, I ended up giving baseball up. But as a young, at that point, I was 17, 18, 19 years old. I was very young. And I loved baseball. And at that point, it was a challenge to me because I didn't want to give baseball up. And I think Coach was trying to help me figure out that as much as I loved baseball, I was a better football player. And if I wanted to be successful in terms of, getting to the next level in either the sports, my best opportunity was going to be on the football field.
Yeah, completely agree. And you're kind of in a long line of, I know more kind of recently Notre Dame players that played two sports too, like Golden Tate, Pat Connaughton on the basketball team, Torrey Hunter Jr. Seems like a lot of Notre Dame players kind of also tagged along with baseball. But obviously we all know that you end up making the best decision. Another quote that kind of stuck with me too, and I was kind of looking back and said you never wanted to let Coach Holtz down. It kind of seemed like that's kind of just testament to the kind of coach he was.
Yeah, Coach Holtz, he believed in you. He breath just straight confidence into us as individuals. Every last one of them. I mean, Coach Holtz is such a class guy. When we were down in Miami 5-6 years ago when Notre Dame played Alabama in that championship game, we had saw Coach Holtz. We had a big party with a bunch of former players and former coaches. Coach Holtz was there. Coach Alvarez was there. The list goes on. But when we saw Coach Holtz, we hadn't seen him. Most of us hadn't seen him in well over 20 years. And the second he saw every one of us, including myself, he greeted us, hugged us, asked us how our parents were doing, my first and last name, how our siblings were doing, how we were doing. He talked to like he just saw us last week, and this is a continuation of just seeing him every day. And it was just amazing to us just to see how much he loved us still, even after all these years. He left and went to South Carolina, did television, has been retired, but it seems like his greatest memories of coaching has always been when he coached us at Notre Dame.
Yeah, it seems like he was definitely one of those old school coaches that had kind of the tough love going. You don't really see that hardly at all anymore today. Even Coach K used to kind of be one of those kind of gritty coaches. Now he's got all these freshmen he's coaching. He's not really like that. You never see Coach K getting mad on the sidelines anymore. But definitely looking back at the games, it seemed like he was definitely one of those coaches who would definitely get into you if you weren't doing what you're supposed to do.
Well, I was thinking back to the time that he grabbed Huntley Baxter's face mask and walked him off the field. You weren't born at that time, but there was a guy who was a freshman at the time. He was a highly recruited freshman. His name was Huntley Backish. Great guy. We all loved him to death, but he was young, and he did, he like all of us did some things that Coach Holtz didn't particularly appreciate. And just one day, Coach Holtz walked on the field. Huntley had made a mistake on the field. Coach Holtz walks out there, grabs him by the face mask, literally turns and walks the other direction to the sideline, and he walked him off the entire field holding the mask, and everybody was like, "Wow, that was pretty firm." That was one of those things.
And the crazy thing, thinking about it, is how small Lou Holtz. I've never seen him in person, but how small he is. He's like, you guys are these big college football players going to the NFL, and he just messing with you guys like that. It's crazy.
Lou's a very tiny man. Always had been and always will be. I mean, he probably is about 130 pounds soaking wet. But he's like that little chihuahua that's in the mirror, and they say, this is who you are, and this is who you think you are. And when he looks in the mirror, he thinks he's a big lion. And I tell you what, we always felt him as a big lion because he carries such a strong voice on us, not just on the field, but actually off the field as well. We always love him.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely paid off looking back at all those seasons you guys had in the late 80s, early 90s. You guys were always competing for a national championship, and that's what kind of Notre Dame's been getting back to these last few years, going 22-4 under Kelly and going undefeated last year. Hopefully, it's kind of consistent. Hopefully, these next few years moving forward, it's maybe 1 or 2 losses at worst, always double-digit wins, always playing on New Year's at the worst, hopefully playoffs. But, man, those were the heydays, and hopefully that's kind of like what we're in right now as well. Kind of moving on to some more specific games. The first kind of film that I ever saw on you was the Indiana game in 1991. So I live here in Indianapolis, and every time I'm talking about football or any sports in general with family or friends, I always say this is why Notre Dame does not schedule the Indiana Hoosiers on their schedule anymore, because of plays like this. Can you kind of speak through that play in 1991 where you just put like all those players on your back?
Well, that was a great experience for me. It was my junior year. I hadn't scored a touchdown in my college career, so I hadn't scored a touchdown since high school. And I just, being at Notre Dame, there's so many great players and so many great plays and things that happen. You're one of your biggest goals as a player there is you want to do something special. Everyone's there's so many people that are average and ordinary, and our thing at Notre Dame is not being average and ordinary. So my goal was to score a touchdown, and I just remember every opportunity that I had to catch the ball, that was my only goal. It wasn't to get a first down. It wasn't to catch the ball. It was to catch and to cross that end zone. And so when I caught that ball that particular day, it was perfect. Rick threw an amazing pass. I caught it in stride. It couldn't have been better. And all I knew was when I caught the ball and turned and looked up, I actually saw the goal line. I have no clue how far it was away from me, but I saw it. So at that point, the only thing I could think about was running until I found a way to cross that line. As I got closer and closer, it just seemed more and more possible. I felt some people hitting me, but at the end of the day, I just kept my legs moving. And of course, when I watched it on film, it was a lot more in depth than I realized it. But all I knew was my feet were moving. I wasn't going down. As I got close to the line, I just realized that, hey, if I can just take a couple more steps and fall in, I'm there. And once I crossed the line, it just felt so surreal. It just felt like the moment I've been waiting for the last, since high school, was a score touchdown. And then and then at that point, my teammates were going crazy. The fans were going crazy. I remember D. Brown picking me up and throwing me on his back. And I'm on the sideline realizing that I was supposed to be out there for the extra point. So I'm like, D. Brown, let me down. Like, I get back out there. Coach Holtz was yelling at me. He's like, I don't care, you scored a touchdown. It's extra point time. So it brought you back to reality so fast that it was just one play, but it was just one of the most dramatic plays of my career.
Yeah, and earlier you were referencing Bo Jackson, kind of looking up to him. It's kind of one of those plays you always hear about, these Bo Jackson hitting balls out of the stadium or doing all kinds, putting players on his back, and that's kind of like one of those, kind of reminded me of some Bo Jackson type play that you had there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that kind of seemed like that was kind of the catapult for the rest of your career, kind of breakout play. I think that's some pretty good film to have when you're trying to go to the NFL. I'm pretty sure that play definitely could get you moved up several rounds by itself.
Yeah, it was definitely the springboard to my career. There was, with Derek Brown being drafted and as high as he got drafted the year before me, at that point people said, hey, we have another guy there at Notre Dame that's a good player as well. Keep your eye out for him. So it gave me an opportunity to do some things that allow people to look at me and realize that I was a good player. And so more than anything else, it was certainly a springboard to let people know that there's a guy that's coming behind Derek Brown that could be just as good.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to another game, I didn't kind of remember this off the top of my head, but it looks like you guys later in that year played all the way out in Hawaii. That was a pretty long trip. Can you take us through that?
It was always fun playing places like Hawaii. I mean, I was very blessed to travel with them. And we played. One thing that enticed me to go there because they told us, they said, you're going to play games on the East Coast as far east as New York with no land, teams like USC, but then you'll have a chance to go out, even further out and play schools like the University of Hawaii. And that was a blessing to be able to, as a young person, make a trip like that, go out and play against schools like Hawaii, and just be able to travel the world as a young person and become, not just a football player, but become versed in other things outside of life.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, just this past year, Notre Dame played Northwestern Chicago. They played Syracuse at Yankee Stadium. They played Navy all the way out in San Diego. Then they got the trip to Ireland coming up here pretty soon. Are you going to that one?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was sad that I missed the trip to Ireland a few years back, but I've made a decision. I'm involved with a company in New York that we're promoting a trip. We're going to have game tickets. We're going to do some sightseeing. We're going to do some golf and tourism packages, and we're going to make this Notre Dame Navy game in Ireland a special event. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to doing. Looking forward to being on the trip myself, meeting a bunch of the fans, and being able to shake hands and kiss some babies with people that love Notre Dame as much as I do.
Yeah, absolutely. We had John Goodman, who was on the roster last time Notre Dame played out there in 2012. We were talking to him, and I remember seeing on the news and reports that a trip of 30,000 people from the United States were going over there just for that game, and I'm sure it'll be around the same this time around. But just shows how big Notre Dame fan base is too. And I was speaking with John. I said, "Can I? You got any memorabilia or any?" They had the cleats back then. Those are some of the coolest cleats when they went to Ireland last time. It had the Ireland flag on their cleats, and they had all special uniforms. It was Adidas they were sponsored by back then, but there's some really cool uniforms. I'm sure they have some special uniform or something lined up this time around.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. And once again, just being able to be a part of, for me, it's because I'm a Notre Dame man. Once you're a Notre Dame guy, you're a Notre Dame guy forever. So when you can follow around your school and be a part of something like that all across the world, to be able to go over there with fans that love Notre Dame as much as we do as well, and to be able to play golf and do some boating trips and things like that, and do some sightseeing and shake hands and just have a chance to mingle with those people and support our team more than anything else over there. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it in 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. The kind of next game that I wanted to speak about was the Sugar Bowl versus Florida. If you could kind of take us through that big win for you guys.
Well, that's actually, I believe, the game that, for me, it changed my career in the full circle and direction, because after that Sugar Bowl game, I actually caught a touchdown in the Sugar Bowl down in New Orleans, and after that game, I got on the plane to fly back to New Jersey, and then I was heading back to school like I always did the previous 2 years, to start baseball training at that point and get ready for the baseball season. And on that flight heading back home, something just dawned on me and said, Irv, you know what? It's time. It's time to give baseball up and give football your full up direct purpose if you want to make this career. And I realized after I scored that touchdown, it was my junior year. It was D. Brown's senior year. D. Brown, of course, played his last game for the Irish, and I knew I was going to be stepping up out in season. It was going to be my senior year to be the starter. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to put my football career on hold and play one more season of baseball. I made that decision right after that game that I wasn't going to go back and play my junior year in baseball, and gave it up. And I went to spring football full time for football, and from that point forward, I focused on it, and I'm very glad that I did, because it proved lots of benefits for me long term. But that was a key moment for me. It was a game where we had they didn't believe we belonged in the Sugar Bowl. I believe there was a saying, they said something like the only bowl that Notre Dame belongs in is the Cheerios Bowl or something like that. We went down and played Florida, and we beat them real bad. I mean, we beat them. I think by the fourth quarter, I wasn't in the game anymore. All the starters were out. I know Jerome had his breakout game. I think he scored like 3 touchdowns, and I scored 1. I remember my buddy Lake Dawson, I believe, scored 1, and Reggie Brooks scored. I mean, we had a day. We proved to the world that we were a great football team. We didn't have a great season, because I believe we lost about 3 games that year, but we were still a great football team, and obviously a lot of great players. Because if you look at that roster, so many guys on those rosters played professionally and were high draft picks. So it really shows that we were a great team, and for me, it was just a pivotal point for me to move forward in my career of football.
If you guys are joining us right now, talking to Notre Dame football player Irv Smith here. Irv, can you talk us about, you said all those athletes and stuff you played with? I was looking back at the NFL draft, which we'll get to here in a second, that year. Had Rick Meyer, you, the bus on there. I think it was another player too as well. But Notre Dame had a lot of talent back in the Lou Holtz days, especially as they do now. But could you talk about playing with Jerome Bettis?
Well, Jerome was a special player. We knew when Jerome walked on campus. I can still remember the day Jerome walked on campus for his recruiting visit. I was very well involved with Denny Serrato and the rest of the recruiting coordinators in terms of hosting players. They came on, and I remember the day Jerome walked on campus, that big smile he had, and you could just tell he was a special player and a special person. And, it didn't surprise us when he did the things that he did and continued on with his career and became the bus and did the things he did in the NFL. And he was surrounded by a bunch of great players, and great players help other players become their best as well. And that's one thing that Jerome did was he helped bring out the best in a lot of other guys, and I think a lot of other guys helped bring the best out of him as well.
Yeah, kind of flashing back to that the Florida game in the Sugar Bowl. I remember seeing a picture of I'm not sure if you were in it. I think Jerome was in it though, where they're kind of mocking doing the Florida Gators chomp too. I thought that was pretty cool, kind of cherry on top of proving all the doubters wrong.
Well, like I said, they certainly, for the first time in our careers, they were saying we didn't belong in a major bowl. And, back in the day, you have to remember, and of course you're very young, but back in the day, there was only 4 major bowls: the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl. I mean, that's it. Everything else, first off, there wasn't all these other bowls. There may have been a couple other bowls, but those were what we called the January 1, the major bowls. And that's all there was. January 1, your only goal at Notre Dame was to play in the January 1 bowl, specifically for the national championship, Sugar Bowl, Florida, the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl, or the Fiesta. And in my 4 years, I played in 2 Orange Bowls, 1 Cotton Bowl, and 1 Sugar Bowl. The only one I didn't play in was the Fiesta Bowl, which they won the national championship the year before I did in '88 in the Fiesta Bowl. So that was what we did. And so when they said we didn't belong in the Sugar Bowl, our goal was to quiet all the critics and let them know that Notre Dame was still Notre Dame. We still belong. We still have a lot of great players. And anytime you shoot up against us, it's going to be a tough day on the other side of the football.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're naming off all those major bowl games. I'm hoping here Notre Dame continues to play in all the. I mean, they played in the Citrus Bowl a few years ago. Then obviously the Cotton Bowl this past year. So I'm hoping that one of those major bowl games is kind of the least that Notre Dame does in these next couple years. Obviously, with the playoffs being the ultimate goal. But kind of flashing back to another marquee game while you're at Notre Dame was the Penn State game in '92 game. I know they refer to it as a Snow Bowl. Obviously, Lou Holtz versus Joe Paterno there. Can you speak about that game?
Well, that's another game that just, when I think about it, I smile. I remember that's the game where Reggie Bush caught that touchdown in the back corner of the end zone. I remember I was going one direction, Reggie was going the other, and Rick fortunately, he saw Reggie. Reggie wasn't wide open, but Rick threw an amazing pass, and Reggie made an amazing catch and caught that ball in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. We won that game. I'm going to tell you, man, those are the kind of rivalries and the kind of games that we played in over the years. Everyone always wanted to beat. It didn't matter if we played Penn State or we played, Purdue. They were always trying to beat us. It was always their championship game when they played against us, and if they had a chance to win, that was going to make their whole season. And that Penn State game was just that just goes. It reiterates the rivalry between schools like Penn State and Notre Dame, especially back in the day, how big they were, and that was such a game that I don't think any of us will ever forget.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All Notre Dame fans know how no matter who you're playing, they always get up for Notre Dame. Heck, the first game of to start this year, we're playing Louisville, who went 2-10 last year, and that's a primetime game already. But yeah, it's not to be understood.
Well, when you play Notre Dame, one thing that a lot of these schools realize is that they may not be on TV every week, but Notre Dame is. So when they play against us, there's an opportunity for them not only to play a major powerhouse school, but also have a chance for their family and friends to see them play on that stuff, because depending on where these kids are playing and where they're from, they may only be on TV a couple times a year, and that's a chance for their family and friends to see them play. At Notre Dame, that's a weekly thing. I never remember playing a Notre Dame football game in my 4 years there that it wasn't a televised game and it wasn't a sold-out stadium. And I'll tell you a funny story. My rookie year in the NFL, I was playing out in Arizona against the Cardinals, and I remember going in, and the first 5 games of the year, were pretty big games for us, and we won. We actually lost our 6th game to Pittsburgh. We were 5-1. We went out to Phoenix to play the Cardinals, and all of our games
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. Yeah, you're out there probably playing at the old Fiesta Bowl they had. But like I said, like just this last year, Notre Dame was playing Navy all the way out in San Diego. I'm sure that wasn't completely full, but it looked like it was full for the most part. And I mean, Notre Dame's all the way in South Bend, and then Navy's all the way on the East Coast too. I know they have a large naval presence out there, but yeah, I think besides Nebraska, Notre Dame has the second longest home sellout streak, and I've heard some rumors that Nebraska kind of lies about that, so maybe Notre Dame does have the true home sellout streak, maybe like the 60s or 70s, something like that. But there's a lot to be said playing in front of a full stadium. I know a couple years ago, Michigan was having a bad season. They were trying to give away tickets just to keep their sellout streak going. So no matter whether Notre Dame's having the best year or the worst year, that stadium is always full.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, are they still there? All right.
There we go. Back, yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that no matter if Notre Dame's having a bad year like they did a few years back, it happens time to time, or having a great season, Notre Dame Stadium is always full. And even if it's full, the ticket prices are usually some crazy, most expensive ones in the game. I bet this year that the Notre Dame Georgia game and Notre Dame Michigan game are probably going to be some of the most expensive tickets to get.
Well, it's all, like you said, it's all about winning and losing. So as long as they continue to win football games, the fans are definitely going to come out in droves. I mean, Notre Dame can always count on the fans supporting them, but when they're playing well with other good teams, there's never a better football game to be a part of or to go to.
Completely agree. The last kind of game specifically that I kind of want to touch on was the Notre Dame Texas A&M game, Cotton Bowl in 1993.
Well, you know what? It doesn't get any better than that for me because that was my last college football game, and I remember going down to Texas A&M that year. And once again, we didn't have a great season, but we had a good season typically. And of course, we're playing the Texas A&M team in Texas, of all places, in the Cotton Bowl, and they had a lot of things to say. And what I do remember in that game is we beat them so bad that I don't know if I played too much of the third quarter. I mean, we went out there and beat up on them like they was on them, and it was a great way for me to finish my college career and move on to the NFL. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's crazy that you said you didn't have too great of seasons, but it seems like back then it was like national championship or bust. Even if you guys had one or two losses, that still wasn't up to par. I feel like that's kind of hopefully what Notre Dame will continue to do here under Brian Kelly. But it's kind of cool all the great venues you got to play in back then.
I always tell people, when they ask me when I played at Notre Dame, there's always the same question I get from everybody always is, well, who was your coach? And I say, Lou Holtz. Oh, my gosh, Lou Holtz. And then when were you there? And I'm like, well, I was there from 89 to 93. We didn't win that championship, but we finished number 2, and we always played in the major bowl games and things like that. And then they always ask, well, who are some of the guys you played with? And I'll say the Jerome Bettis's and, Tony Rice's and Chris Zorris's. I mean, the name goes on. I played with so many star-studded names and guys, and it's so funny because back then they were who their name was, and now they're just my buddies, and we're all just retired players that played, and we all have families and kids, and life moves on. But it was nothing like when I was playing ball at Notre Dame. It was national championship or bust. My freshman year, quick story. We finished the season. We lost to Miami the last game of the season, the last regular season game, and we played Colorado in the Orange Bowl. So we played Colorado. Now Colorado's number 1. We're number 2. Miami's number 3, and Alabama's number 4. So Alabama plays Miami in the Sugar Bowl. We played Colorado in the Orange Bowl. We ended up beating Colorado, so 2 beat 1. Miami beat Alabama, so 3 beat 4. You left us at number 2. They moved Miami from number 3 to number 1, and Colorado from number 1 to number 3. So there is no playoffs. There is no this. There's none of that. It's just how they choose to vote. And so I remember that it was almost like going to a funeral at our awards banquet that year because we finished number 2. We didn't finish number 1. And that's what's so amazing about Notre Dame is that the expectations and the standards have always been so high. And some people say it's a gift, some people say it's a curse. I think it's the greatest thing in the world because, at the end of the day, it taught us to work hard, to be successful, to not settle for less. And to these days, I think most of us guys that played, especially during that era, we all take that same mentality into life.
Yeah, completely agree. I think it's going to be special the next time Notre Dame wins a championship. It's going to be kind of like, I wouldn't say like, how the Cubs were a huge deal. I mean, obviously Alabama and Clemson have won a lot recently, but I think the next time that Notre Dame wins, it's going to be something that's definitely national news. Like, obviously, Cowboys, Notre Dame, the Yankees are kind of like the big America's teams kind of going on. I think every time Notre Dame has a special season, it's definitely up there. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to be a part of a championship one, but I know when that day comes when Notre Dame finally gets over the hump with Kelly, it's going to be awesome, and definitely something special about when Notre Dame's good. College football seems to be always have good seasons when Notre Dame's up there.
Well, I'm hoping that we get back on top and we stay on top. I don't want it to be where we try to win that championship, win one, and then we go back to being number 3, 4, 5, or 6. I mean, like I said, when I was at Notre Dame, it was all or none, and that's the kind of mentality that you have to have when you're playing, especially with the way recruiting in football is today in college football. Right now you've got Alabamas and Clemsons that are pretty much back-to-back with winning it all, and you have, Georgia fitting in there. But, if Notre Dame wants to get there, they're going to have to consistently be one of the top 2 or 3 teams every year just to have a chance of getting it, because if you're not going to no one's going to sneak in there one year, steal the national championship, and then go back to being mediocre. Mm-hmm. You're either going to be a top program or you're not going to be.
And Irv, talk me through some of these old school stadiums you got to play at. Obviously, the Cotton Bowl's now at where the Cowboy Stadium now, AT&T Stadium. The old Orange Bowl's been destroyed. I know Pittsburgh's old stadium's been destroyed too. Some of these old stadiums, I know you got to play at Michigan. It still exists, and Penn State too. Just talk me through some of these old stadiums or some of the loud stadiums you got to play at when you're at Notre Dame.
Well, one of my funnest stadiums to play at was USC. The Coliseum. I mean, you don't get any. I don't think you get too much more traditional than the Coliseum, because it's not just the football stadium for USC, but it's the old Olympic stadium that they built way back in the day, and it's special because it's not a typical football stadium. I mean, you're probably 30 or 40 yards off the sideline to at least maybe further than that to where the actual field starts, and that's a fun thing to play in. Plus, you're out in California, the weather's so beautiful when you go out there. When you leave South Bend and it's the winter time and it's 10 degrees or 10 below, and you go out to California and it's 70 degrees and sunny, it's a special place to be at and a special place to play and have a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a thing, they were interviewing some current NFL players, and Juju Smith-Schuster, who played at USC, was talking about how crazy it was playing at Notre Dame. It's kind of the opposite. Like you said, USC always warmer out there, and the stadium is so big, it's not really close to the fan or the players as much, but Notre Dame Stadium is so close. I mean, you could run and hit the fans like 2 steps after you're out off the sidelines. It's crazy. I know we kind of discussed this earlier, but what players do you kind of keep in touch with still?
Well, being at Notre Dame, man, we all stay in touch. I mean, I stay in touch with, the list goes on, everyone from Reggie Brooks to Derek Brown, to Oscar McBride, to Adrian Gerald, to Tony Rice, to, Frank Stams, to Pat Terrell. I mean, we're a family for life. I mean, we played together 30 years ago, but we all stay a part of each other's lives consistently. We talk on Facebook. We meet up at different things. We see each other at, whatever it may be. So, you name it. We talk to all the guys all the time. It just depends on who we're talking to and when you talk to them about. But we're a very close-knit family, and it wasn't just in Notre Dame. Once we left Notre Dame, we all became brothers for life.
Yeah, it's crazy how kind of you got the summer, you got the winter, but every time fall rolls around, those 6 or 7 home games that Notre Dame has, it's just like going back in time and hanging out with all your friends, and the tailgate seems like everyone just kind of goes right back to when they were in school or when they were friends and stuff. It's kind of crazy seeing that tailgate those 6 or 7 days in the fall when everyone's on campus are just special.
It's tough for me because I have a son that plays football, and I was one of those dads that, when my son plays, everything else takes second base. So up until about maybe 7 years ago, I used to do a lot of the games and tailgaters and Notre Dame weekends. But once my son got into high school, started playing football, and I wasn't able to double dip and do his games and Notre Dame games as well. It's been tough to get back to the games, but I still get a chance. Every few years I go back for, they have a thing called fantasy football camp. I've been able to participate in that the last few years.
Yeah, you were just a game away from your son playing against the Irish in the championship game. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that, but that would have been a little conflict of interest there. I'm sure you would have obviously wanted your son to win, but that would have been interesting.
Well, a lot of people call me, people were asking me as early as the Navy game, because I was out at the Navy game. I didn't go to the game, but I was out there for some golf events and stuff when Notre Dame was there. And people were asking me, well, Irv, what are you going to do if Notre Dame plays out there? And I said, look, I love Notre Dame to death. I said, but you guys know one thing. I said, I got a son to name after me. I said, I want him happier than anybody in the world. So at the end of the day, I love Notre Dame. But anybody that has a child will say, if they have a child playing, it doesn't make a difference who they're playing against. They want their child to be happy. And so at the end of the day, I was actually happy that we didn't have to play, because I didn't want to have that conflict. But I certainly was cheering that Notre Dame would have a chance to play in it, because once again, if my son doesn't win, I'd like to see my alma mater win just as much.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That's the way it should be. Before we kind of move on to your son, I got some questions about him. I know you'd love to talk about him. Just kind of wrap up. I know we talked a lot about Notre Dame, but you want to talk a little about your NFL career? I know you play with the Saints, 49ers, and Browns. You kind of want to speak about that real quick?
It was a blessing. I really enjoyed my time. College football, of course, to me is there's nothing better because it's pure. You're not getting paid. You're playing because you love the game. NFL was a lot of fun because you get to you work your whole life to be able to play in an NFL uniform and play on an NFL field. My time playing was great. I couldn't have been drafted by a better team. The Saints was a great organization. People loved their team. We were down kind of when I was playing there. The Saints weren't the team they are today, but certainly the fans have always been great fans. When I went to San Francisco, it was only 1 year. I had a 2-year contract. I played 1 year of it, and then I went to Cleveland for the second year of it. But I couldn't have been with a better organization. The Barlow family just took care of us and spoiled us, and it was a lot of fun there. We had a good season, but we ended up losing in the game before the NFC Championship game, and so on and so forth. And then when I went to Cleveland that last year, it was tough. Football wasn't fun anymore. It was a grind, and that's what made me decide to call it a day, because sometimes when you're playing, it was a new organization, new team, new head coach, new quarterback, new everything. And it just made football not as fun. And I always tell people, when you're not having fun anymore, especially in the game of football, it's time to get out, because if you don't have fun and you don't want to be there, you can get hurt. And getting hurt in football is not you pull a hamstring. You can get hurt to where you can't function in life for the next 50 or 60 years. And so it was time for me to get out, but my son loves the game. I'm glad he's playing, and I'm glad to be back and part of being involved in football the way I was for so many years.
Yeah, definitely got drafted this year. How did you feel about your son going to Alabama? Did he even consider Notre Dame, or what was his kind of options when he was looking at schools?
Well, the truth of the matter is I called Notre Dame, and I actually tried to gift wrap my son to him. I said, hey, my son would like to come here. If you guys will offer him a scholarship, we'll finish up recruiting, and we'll call it a day. He wants to be a fighting Irish guy like his dad, and their words to me was, unfortunately, we're just not interested. So, unfortunately, Notre Dame wasn't interested in my son, but fortunately, schools like Alabama, Texas A&M, Texas, Florida, they were interested in him. And at the end of the day, when we took the recruiting visit to Alabama, it was just by far the best opportunity that was presented for my son, not just on the football field, but off the football field, the way they prepare their young men for life after football and life during football if they make it to the next level. And so we just felt like it was the best school. And at the end of the day, my son felt it was the best opportunity for him. And his mom and I helped him make the decision, but he ultimately felt like Alabama was the place for him, and he certainly was right, because everything they offered to him and then some they promised, and they actually came through.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Can't play for just a better program under Nick Saban. I mean, you get the best coach in the country. How do you? Let's see here real quick. How excited are you to start watching him this fall playing the NFL? I know you got drafted by the Vikings and stuff. Obviously, you try to make it to many games as you can.
Oh yeah, well, just like college, I don't miss many games. So I think during his college season, every year he played, I think a total of, let's say, 15 or 16 games, and then spring game, I probably missed maybe 3 or 4 games this season. And coming to the NFL, I don't plan on missing, but maybe a couple of games throughout the season. But I'll be at all the home games, and I'll be at most of the away games, and I'll be at most of the preseason games. I just, when you have an opportunity to have a son playing football, especially on these high levels, there's only one chance in life to do this. There's no do-overs, and so I don't want to miss. And I've been blessed with the opportunity that I
Yeah, absolutely. So where are you living at the moment? Are you what area of the country at? Oh, so
I moved down here. I left the state in 1998. Myself was born in August of that year. I just purchased. I sold my house in New Orleans because I just signed with the Niners in '98. So my house that I had purchased in New Orleans, I bought a house in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I've been here ever since. For 21 years, I've been living here in Phoenix. I've been in the real estate business, trying to come up here, and that's what I do.
yeah, I think the last time did you get to catch the Irish when they came out to Arizona State there like 4 or 5 years ago?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, were you able to catch the Irish when they came out to Arizona State?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Were you able to catch the Irish when they came out to Arizona State?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Were you able to catch the Irish when they came out to Arizona State not too long ago?
Yeah. A few years back when they came out here, I did check them out, of course, and a bunch of guys were out here and had a chance to spend a lot of time. That's when they had the bowl game out here. Yeah, any chance I can get to watch my Notre Dame guys play, of course, I definitely do the best I can to see them play. Like I said, unfortunately, with my son playing his schedule, it's difficult. Like I said, I did my best to get him to Notre Dame where I could have been there for the last 3 years. Work out. Can I follow first and then I get Notre Dame game second? I'll make that happen as well.
Yeah, completely understand. Like I said, there's only about 100, a little over 100. Sorry, a little over 100 days till college football season's back in the NFL. So I'll be here for you, Noah, and best of luck to your son in his first year in the NFL.
I do appreciate